Hi, welcome to the Enterprise 2.0 Workbench, Episode 7. My name is John Brunswick, and today we're going to be building a corporate directory search for use within WebCenter. We're going to do this by building a Java class that calls over to our directory services over LDAP, takes the results and packages them up in a way that we can use a data control from ADF. Once we have that data control, we can drag and drop within an ADF UI to build out a search interface. That search interface can then be exposed within potentially the navigation of our portal or just within the page as a portlet. Within this episode, I've got all the sample code that we'll go over now, and we'll do a code walkthrough in just a moment. You can then use this code as the foundation for your own projects. Let's roll up our sleeves and take a look.
Alright, let's take a look at the files that actually support the LDAP search so we can understand what is underneath the covers. If we open up the project in JDeveloper, you'll notice a couple things. Just like a standard Fusion web application, we have a model project and a view controller within our application. What we've done here is we've created a couple Java classes to help us to expose the information from LDAP out into our application. The core of it is the directory search.java file. And one of the things as we look through the code, you'll notice that at the very top of our class, we go ahead and define some variables that we're actually going to use throughout the class. And these particular variables, we're going to be pulling values from the web.xml file associated with this project. So this helps it to be portable across different environments that you might leverage it in, as well as ultimately if we wanted to parameterize some of these items further. So for instance, something like the base path of the LDAP query, you might want to make that based on a parameter that would actually get passed over to the portlet. Inside our class, the method that actually does the heavy lifting for us is the search LDAP directory method, and this is actually what we're going to be executing using our data control that's generated on top of this class. The method returns a list of person objects and is done on the basis of a search parameter that is passed into the method. So all that we're doing here, and it's fairly well commented, is we're actually creating our connection to the directory service, and then we're preparing to hold the results of the search within this matches variable that we've set up, which is ultimately a list of person objects. And so as we go through and actually execute the search, you'll notice a couple things here. One, these are functions supported by classes and jars that are already providing all of the plumbing for the directory communications. And what we're able to do when we work with the search method of this particular object for the directory connection is pass in a couple objects to help filter the results. And as we go ahead and potentially get some results back, for each result we're going to go ahead and pull off some of the attributes for a given result. And you'll notice here we're setting that up on the basis of this result attributes object, where we're actually again pulling off all those attributes for a given search result and getting ready to assign them to a person object. Now for debugging purposes, by the way, if you want to see all of the different attributes that the system views as available from the directory service, you can uncomment this line and it's going to go ahead and print in your WebLogic server console all the information that it's able to find within the result objects. So going down a little bit further here, this could have been coded in a tighter fashion, but I chose to do it in this way just to make it very easy to understand. I've set some default values for attributes that might get associated with the person object that we're using for this particular result item. And the reason I've done this is you're not always going to get a value back for a given attribute. And so over the series of the next few lines here, you can see that we're going to check for null against a bunch of the attributes that are coming back. And then ultimately at the very bottom, we're going to go ahead and create that person object and then add that person object into a list of person objects. So that's pretty much it for the directory search, and we'll come back to this in a moment and explain how we can build the data control on top of this. Now, the reason that we're able to build a data control directly on this directory search.java file is because of our person object. So we've gone ahead and created a Java bean here where we've set up a series of attributes for this particular class. And we've gone ahead and created getter and setter methods to manage those various variables associated with this particular class. So for instance, if we wanted to, JDeveloper expedites some of this for us, so if we wanted to go ahead and create a new variable inside of our person object, we could go ahead and create a new string object. Let's say, for instance, this might be an address we would want to use. And if we just right-click, and we can right-click anywhere within the IDE, we can select Generate Accessors, and you can see what it's done here is it's gone ahead and figured out that this is the only variable that doesn't have getter and setter methods. And if we hit OK, it will actually build out the getter and setter code to help us create this Java bean. Now, once we've done this and we've created our person.java file for the person class, then we can incorporate it into our directory search to hold the results as we have here. So again, you can see that we create a new person object called foundPerson and add that into the list. Now, here's where JDeveloper and ADF get pretty powerful. After I've done that coding, I can right-click my directory search.java file here and select Create Data Control. If I go ahead and do this, it'll go ahead and create a data control on the basis of that class. And what that means is that it's gone ahead and it now understands the various components associated with these classes, specifically that the search LDAP directory method that is available in the class becomes exposed. And ADF is able to interpret that a search parameter needs to be passed into this particular method. And it also understands that a person object is going to be the result. And here we've chosen a couple particular fields that we want to go ahead and use to hold the data coming back from our result sets from LDAP. So that provides the foundation for how we're going to go ahead and create our directory. There are a couple other supporting files, one called get LDAP user image, and this has been set up just purely to make the search results a little bit more interesting. I won't spend much time here, but fundamentally we're using the same type of connectivity to go ahead and use settings that we're holding in the web.xml file, and those are called environment entries. And then what we're doing is we're going ahead and we're connecting to the directory for a given user ID. And we're using the same style search that we are in our directory search.java file. But here what we're doing then is for that given user, we're actually pulling back from the directory itself some binary information about that particular user, specifically their photo. And what we're able to do is we've set up get LDAP user image as a servlet within our application. And again, this is a sample configuration. This doesn't indicate how you would have to do it in a production environment. There might be ways that are more elegant. This is just for demonstration's sake. But this will actually, on the fly, pull back that user image from the directory and be able to easily display it within our results page. And we'll go into that more in a moment. The second to last piece here is in our web.xml file, and at the very bottom of the file we've added these environment entries. And again, these entries, this is what ultimately makes it portable across different environments. And if we go to the nice UI that JDeveloper provides for us, we can see here that all of the values are easily accessed and adjusted. And again, these are things that we will want to set up specific to our environment. So here, for instance, my base domain that I want to use for queries is just by virtue of a virtual machine that I'm running. The same with the connection URL, the user, the password, and the auth type. This might vary depending on your environment, and you also might have to add additional objects to the way that you rather pass additional objects in with the way that you're connecting to your directory service to make it work with your system. The final part of the equation is our JSF page. And so here we're looking at the LDAP search.jspx file, and we're able to see that we've placed a series of components on the page here to surface the result set. And if we actually go ahead and take a look at a running example, we can see here, and I'll just actually refresh the page here, we can see that this interface is now using those services that we talked about within the bean that are ultimately exposed by the data control up into the ADF layer. And the way that we did this, let's just go build a very lightweight sample together here, is in the view controller we went ahead and created a new JSF page. I'm just going to call this temp sample and accept the defaults. When our page loads up, we can go to our data controls, and with our data controls we can go ahead and drag and drop the search LDAP directory method onto the page and go ahead and create an ADF parameter form. Now what we're able to do here is, by default, it understands that it needs a value to go ahead and execute that method, and so we'll just go ahead and have it labeled as name. If we hit OK, it's gone ahead now and rendered out what's actually going to execute the method of our directory search class. And in order to render the results, we can take the person object and drag and drop that into our UI here, and go ahead and create an ADF read-only table. We can enable sorting, filtering, all of the items that you're used to using just with standard maybe database or web services access. But again, in this case, the really neat thing is that we're using LDAP to go ahead and grab the data for us, and we're doing it through our own custom Java bean. But it's being interpreted by ADF just as if it were anything else that we were trying to leverage. So I'm going to go ahead real quickly here and just kind of give us a little bit more breathing room, again just for demonstration purposes. And we're going to go ahead and run our new page. Alright, so if we wait just a moment here, it's going to go ahead and fire up our new page. And once our new page is up in the browser, you're going to see it's not going to look as nice as this result set, because we're not going ahead and incorporating any of the photos or the kind of nicer layout. But what we're able to do is just get a sense of, again, how easy it was to go ahead and connect to the directory through our custom Java bean. And here we go. We've connected to the directory, and we're able to get all the sorting and filtering that we're used to when we're leveraging, again, maybe more traditional web services or a database underneath ADF. So to go ahead and leverage this in a portal, we have a couple options. If we wanted to, we could go ahead and create a portlet entry and leverage a portlet that would be able to be consumed over WSRP into WebCenter. Another way to do it, if we wanted to do something very simple, would be to go ahead and potentially just include it by way of an iframe within the portal. And in the example that I've put together, it's a very, very lightweight integration. Again, maybe not something you'd want to do in a production environment, but it provides a very quick way for users to search their corporate directory. And so in order to take a look at this, I actually have a running page already set up, just as an example. And we can see here that I'm logged in as a user within my own intranet, looking at a couple things. And toward the top of the screen, I have a series of tabs, and one of them is actually the people search. So the neat thing here is, even though this is, again, a very lightweight way to do this, and I'm leveraging just an iframe, what I've been able to do is to go ahead and include it within the navigation experience just for very quick, simple access. And this could be something that maybe you have an icon up in your header, that magnifying glass or a person, something to that effect, or it could be in the footer with some sort of persistent footer bar for easy access. But the nice thing here again is we're leveraging all of the capabilities to easily consume our own bean to surface this, and underneath the covers we're connecting back to our directory services. So I hope that everybody is able to get some value from the files that I've placed online alongside this particular segment. And if you're looking to do anything like this in your navigation, in the GitHub code down at the very bottom of the post on my blog, you can actually go ahead and take a look at the code snippet that I'm using to generate this. So again, just set up as kind of a proof of concept, but I think something that you might find very valuable when you're working with WebCenter and trying to make, add as much functionality as possible that's very easy for business users to leverage and do common operations that they're doing in their day-to-day. Appreciate your guys' time, and I'll see you on the next episode.